So welcome everyone to the Global Mindfulness and Education Summit. I'm really excited to introduce you to Orlaith O'Sullivan, who's here today from Ireland with us. I have interviewed her before and she's got such great ideas, so really excited that she's joining us. She's been practicing mindfulness for over 20 years in the tradition of Plum Village and Thich Nhat Hanh, and she works directly with schools and teachers and families. She runs different community groups for children and adults and youth, and she's also the international coordinator of Plum Village's Wake Up Schools program, and she is the advisor and host for the World Happiness Festival. So we're really excited to have you here. So welcome, and thanks so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
So tell us a little bit, first of all, about this international coordinator role that you're doing with Wake Up Schools. Where are the schools and what is it all about?
Well, yeah, so Wake Up Schools is a grassroots community movement, and we seek to further Thich Nhat Hanh's vision for mindfulness and education. And he has been helping teachers to learn how to take care of themselves since the 1950s. It's very early on in his teaching, and he gave us this manifesto for Wake Up Schools, which is that happy teachers change the world. That if a teacher can learn how to take good care of themselves, that actually whether you're a maths teacher or whether you're the school administrator or whether you're a parent, like however you're involved in the ecosystem of a child, if you can take care of your presence, then that's your biggest teaching and your biggest gift to children. So we are across the whole world, Australia, all through, just everywhere in the world, and people take part in very different ways. So sometimes one teacher in a school kind of catches the practice, and they kind of practice just for themselves to learn how to maybe reduce anxiety or stress or the momentum of rushing. That's very common in our lives, and it's amazing when it happens that even if mindfulness is never mentioned, like their class changes slightly, and then other children notice, and then other children come to them to ask for support. And so entire workplaces kind of become infused with an interest in mindfulness. And in Wake Up Schools, we really encourage teachers first just to practice for themselves so that they can embody the practice, and then to find friends on the path. So whether it's 2 or 4 teachers sitting together for 10 minutes one morning a week, or having a mindful lunch together, or going for a walk once a week, just to build a reliable community in your life so that you can be supported by a kind group of people. And so we encourage people to learn nice and slowly. There's no hurry. Often when people arrive on retreat, they're like, give me the curriculum, I can start teaching straight away. And like we really want them to take care of themselves first. So there's no hurry, because just by them taking care of themselves, they change everything anyway. There's one of our senior teachers, Richard Brady, is a retired maths teacher in America, and he shared that he had met a student of his, and maybe he hadn't taught the student for like 13 years. The student now worked for the United Nations or something, and when Richard met him, the student went, "Oh, I remember you teaching us how to wash the dishes, like because I hated washing the dishes, and I remember you teaching just to wash, enjoy the suds and the bubbles and not to do it just to get it done." And I was like, with all of the quadratic equations and everything else that Richard has taught, that's what his student
Yeah.
remembered how to not rush, how to be in that moment. So yeah, it's a great gift for teachers to really be deeply present for their students.
Yeah. Wow, I love that that story of what the student remembered, and also really resonate with I think, yeah, teachers, we all want to know what to do and where's the curriculum, as you said. So that's really amazing to hear that people are being told to take care of themselves first, in such a high stress kind of profession, where we see lots of teacher dropouts and things. So yeah.
And even things like laryngitis for teachers, voice difficulties.
Yeah.
Waking in the morning and having this mild anticipatory dread about going before the class, like it can be quite insidious when stress creeps up on teachers. And I think when you've practiced a little and you've tasted it for yourself, you can be quite a zealot about it. Like sometimes teachers go back to the school and you're like, everyone should learn this straight away. And, it's okay to just enjoy it yourself for a little while. We did, I was at a conference for teachers in Ireland this year, and we did a practice where everyone was either a musician or an artist. So I just went around the room and went, you're a musician, you're an artist. And the musicians were listening first because they're naturally great listeners. And the artists needed to just think of a time where they were in the presence of a beautiful color. And it could be any color, any place, and just share that. And when they shared with such joy, and musicians caught it really easily. And then they swapped, and the musicians shared a moment when they were in the presence of a beautiful sound. So it could be birdsong, laughter, music, anything. And afterwards I was sharing that, that's how we aim to share mindfulness. It's not picking up a book and going, follow your breath all the way to the end, turn page. That actually just try it and find aspects of it that you are naturally enthusiastic about. And then just share those from your heart.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So tell us a little bit if most of the people watching the summit are teachers, or maybe some principals and things. So if you want to create more of a kind environment at your school, obviously start with yourself, but where in general can teachers start to bring in that kindness into the school environment?
So so first we practice for ourselves, and I know some teachers who have practiced kind of without giving it away, like they would just sit and have lunch once a week in a room where other people could join them if they wanted, and they would just really enjoy this peaceful, spacious time for themselves. And children naturally became curious about, what are you doing, and why are you eating slowly, and why don't you have music on? And so we can share in lots of different ways. I think for sustainability, it's really good to have friends on the path. So having a few people practicing together is great. And I think that for practicing with children, one of the biggest things is to drop the outcome. That it's really counterintuitive, because in every other kind of subject, like, we know what we want to achieve.
Exactly.
We have very clear lesson plans, and often when I go into schools, there'll be a sign in the classroom saying, what does success look like? And when we practice mindfulness, it's slightly different to that. If you're there with a kind, open heart, and the children are there with open hearts, then that's success. So I know I really empathize with the frustration that a lot of teachers feel when they decide that they want to teach this, but part of them is kind of gripping an outcome that they go, the children will relax and they will achieve calm. And actually, the gift is just to create the space with them that what the child feels, they will feel in their own time. So sometimes we think about it like a seed germinating, that we all have a seed of peace or calm or connection or wonder or gratitude in us. And that needs certain conditions to germinate. And for me as a teacher of mindfulness, my job is simply to provide the conditions under which it could germinate. So boundless kindness, deep listening, a sense of play and fun, my deep kind of focused presence to be there for the child. And whether they have a seed that's ripe and can just pop up that very afternoon, or whether they have a really malnourished seed that's slowly drawing in nourishment for a few days or months or years or decades, that's not really my business. Like, so the gift is nourishing the conditions under which a child could know they belong really deeply and can care for themselves. And then those circles of care kind of widen. And then they care for the other people in the group or their friends or family. And then kind of the outer layers, I think of it as like a wise citizen layer that, you know, then you try and make really skillful decisions for the planet, for your political system, for anything else, for your society. Yeah. So letting go of an outcome is really, is a good thing. Like kind of knowing what your gift is. Your gift is your presence, because children don't do what you say, they do what you do. So we really try and be the presence that we would wish for the child.
I love that, giving up the outcome, because you're right. In schools, we always want to have something to write down on the reports or things, and yeah, it's a bit different. So let's talk about some practices that might be helpful for teachers. So can you just share some few practices that you really love, that you feel resonate with children?
Yes, of course, my favorite thing to do. So yes, so for teachers, so like we have a few kind of basic principles when we're together about it being a co-created space, so not so didactic, everyone gets to chip in, that everything belongs, so that sometimes, you know, it's very easy, or we feel like Yoda feels amazing, and sometimes we're bored or restless, and that's okay, it all belongs. And what I do to create kind of a framework for the space is that I use cards. So I make some cards. Here's that I'll talk about, and I have like little printed versions of them as well. But it's fun to make your own. So what I do is I choose a selection of cards, and I just put them in the middle of the group, and I get to choose the first one, and I always choose weather. So weather for me it's really accessible for all ages, because no matter how young we are, we have a sense of if the sun is shining, if it's raining, and we're able to map that to how I feel. So sometimes, you know, it's very easy to be me. Sometimes I feel like a sunshiny day, very simple to be me. And it's not too hot and not too cold and not too windy, and I just flow. And sometimes it's not so easy to be me. So sometimes it's a bit cloudy or rainy, or maybe foggy. Maybe I'm just, you know, I don't really even know what I feel. And then we all have stormy times as well. So with weather, what we do is we take a moment to check in and see, like, if I was weather right now, what kind of weather would I be? What kind of moment is it for me? And then I can share my name and my weather. And then we go around the circle and we just listen to all the different weathers. And, you know, it's extraordinary. Like it's a huge different weather map of tornadoes and snow and rainbows and amazing things and really difficult weathers. And that's okay. So it really helps us understand each other. Because if someone is feeling really foggy, I am not going to try and get them to make a decision, because that's just mean, you know. So it helps us to take care of each other, and it also helps us to notice that our weather moves all the time, so that if I am lucky enough to be feeling sunny, I might go, wow, lucky weather, you know, and that's just happens to be a good moment for me. And then if I'm feeling rainy, then I go, wow, not so lucky weather, and that's okay too. And I think for children especially, especially for really difficult moments, like where we feel the sky is so dark and clouded that we might never see the sunshine again. There are times where we have a thought of despair, and it's a really dangerous thought to believe. So I practice with my weather and children's weather, so that we know that behind any weather is this vast, boundless blue sky. And there's part of us that is so kind and wise and inclusive and free, and that all of the rest of the stuff that we feel, all of the thoughts, all of the feelings, that's weather, and that's always moving. And that behind it, there's something bigger than one emotion. So even if we have an emotion of despair, there's more in us than simply one emotion. We're bigger than that. If we can get in touch with the sky nature of us.
Wow, that's beautiful, beautiful practice, and I think so important. I mean, I'm seeing a lot more stress and anxiety and kind of some of that despair sometimes in children, and I love that, that people can share in that and let people know that it is something that's moving and passing, as you say, and have some hope there of seeing the sunshine again. So,
and it does it very naturally, kind of, because there's no pushing the weather, it's not going to leave quicker. There's no like, it is what it is. And there's also, like, when we're a little older and we understand a bit more about weather systems, you also know that it's not so personal. The weather that's here in Dublin at this moment has a million different causes all around the world. And it's for me to live with now, but it's not so, I don't need to take it so personally. So it can give us some freedom and space around our feelings.
Wonderful. All right. Can you share another practice with us?
Yes, I can. So let me see. So weather is really good for starting, because it means that everyone gets to be included.
Opens up. Yeah.
And then, so we do a practice called Starfish.
Okay.
And sometimes I know groups who live far from the sea, and they call this mountain, because it involves like your hand. Yeah. It can look like a little range of mountains. If starfish is a very strange, unusual for you. And this is a movement-based practice that helps us get in touch with our breath. So for me, it's great for really strong feelings. So when I'm feeling very worried, very cross, or just scattered, really dispersed. So you choose a hand to be your starfish. And with kids, what we'll do is we'll just talk about starfish for a while. Have you ever seen one? And then we'll talk about aquarium visits and holidays, and we talk about starfish facts as well. So we have a lovely preamble into this. And then the practice is that so the one rule is there's no adjusting your breath. So your breath gets to be completely natural. So if you've just been running, it would be very quick. And if you're feeling calm, then it's slow, but your lungs get to be natural. And then, so we start down at our wrist, and then you wait for the next in-breath. And when my in-breath becomes an out-breath, I need to be in a very specific position. So I need to be poised at the very, very tip of my thumb. And then I breathe down my thumb. Then I need to be just in the crook when my out-breath becomes an in-breath. So we breathe up and down each finger. And then we finish, we come right down to our wrist again, and we take a moment to see what is it like in this moment to be me. Let's take a moment to check in, and then we swap hands and we do it again, so that by the end of it, we've taken 10 breaths in mindfulness. And because every finger and thumb is quite a different length, our brain needs to constantly speed up or slow down. So it needs to make adjustments all the time. So it gives our brain loads of stuff to do. So when we're when you're like caught in an addictive feeling, like you're just a little caught by fear or stress, starfish really short circuits that very well. So it's quite a powerful practice. You might do 2 or 4 or 6. And great as well for nighttime, either before bedtime to make it a habit, before you lie down and curl up, or if you wake during the night, you know that sometimes at all ages we wake and we have like one thought, two thoughts, 9 thoughts, and then we think, I'll never sleep again. This is it. So to physically sit up in bed and do a few pairs of starfish, again, just short circuits the thinking, that kind of forward reaching momentum of worry, and can really help us fully embody ourselves again with more of a quality of calm or ease towards ourselves. So
that's a great one, I think, and also kids you can do it anywhere, can't you? You know, in exams or tests, or in just any situation where kids are feeling anxious, and of course as adults as well. So yeah, I love that.
And also once we get used to it and we develop kind of a memory of this line going up and down, the sensation, then actually you can do it in visible starfish. So if you're like, you don't have to physically move up and down. Once your brain remembers the feeling of going up and down, then you can just have your hands resting and just connect with your breath and wait for your next in-breath, and then start moving up and down. So if you're feeling at all self-conscious, you can just do it invisibly and take care of yourself in that moment.
That's a great tip. What about, we get lots of teachers asking about students who are distracted, or you know, don't want to participate, or can't focus on a particular activity that's happening at school. Are there any practices that can help in that situation?
So starfish is one great one because it involves some movement. So often when we're distracted, like there's just more energy in our body than it knows what to do with. So it really helps to guide that energy. So starfish is good for that. Listening exercises can be really helpful. So we use the bell a lot in our practice, where you would make one clear sound of the bell. And as a group, we learn over time that whenever the bell sounds, you let yourself have nothing to do. So it's just like free time. And you can take like 3 breaths in total freedom. And you don't need to do anything else other than let the bell sound ripple through. And it's one of the most common comments that teachers say, that they'll come up to me afterwards and go, where do I get one of those bells? So you can do kind of play games around the bell, where if you're, so that if you can hear the sound of the bell, you might have your hand open. And then when you can't hear it anymore, you close your hand. And because everyone, you know, sound travels through space and everyone has a slightly different receiving of the sound, the hands close at different times. So that's another kind of attention-based one. And we also do mindful walking that we can, and that could be at any pace. We do one practice where we pretend that we're at an airport and pretend we're going on holidays, and we have plenty of time at the airport. So everyone's just sauntering. So we do a little preamble where we really connect with the creation of our footprints. So we really sense our 2 feet as they move on the ground. And then we practice speeding that up a little bit to see if we can still stay connected with our footprints. So we walk around for a little bit, and then our gate has been announced. So now we know we're going to gate 51. So we have a direction now. So and we still have loads of time. So we speed up a little bit. And then and we just keep building that. You know, now the gate is open, boarding has started. No more dawdling, we know where we're going. And then you move it to the like final boarding call, that notice of shame where they go, with passenger Orlaith O'Sullivan, please come to gate 51. And you have to run at the end. So everyone just runs around the room. But we see if we can run without being pulled by fear or anxiety. If we can move quickly without being pulled by stress, to really stay down in our footprints. And I did it with a group recently, and a child shared that they went on holiday the next day and they were at the airport and they were walking through the airport, staying connected with their footprints. So that was lovely.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I love all those activities. And we are, hearing and seeing more and more students and schools getting involved in environmental issues and sustainability. So how can we bring, some kind of mindfulness practice into working with Mother Nature, or helping those type of causes?
Oh yeah, there's so many ways into to this space. I'm so grateful for our Plum Village practice, because it is such an earth loving practice. It's very it allows us to really use our imagination to connect deeply and see that we're not separate, like we're all an emanation of the earth, just in different forms. So maybe one that I can recommend is, so we do one called Imaginature, where we get to use our imagination about nature. And we do a little guided meditation where, so you get to be settled and solid, and then you can kind of go and be any part of nature that you want to be. Anything. Nice. You can be like a glacier, you can be a blue whale, a little mosquito, a red panda, moss, a tree, a bird living in a tree, anything. You can be a whole ocean, so you can be something very big or very little, and in any part of the world. And so we lead a little guided meditation where you really get to kind of inhabit that part of the planet and really take a moment to kind of settle in to this part of our world, and then see, how does it feel to be you? Like, do you have a favorite part of the day? And what things do you notice around you? So you might start with the senses, like different colors or smells or tastes, and then see, do other creatures come and visit you, or maybe they live in you or on you, or maybe you live a part of something else. So to sense your connection with life around you. And then we share a joy. So you might find, like, what's your most joyful part of the day? What's your favorite bit? So if you're a bird, it might be like dawn, the bird song at dawn, when you first sing out into the growing light. And then we ask, is there anything that is on my heart? Is there anything that worries me a little bit? And you just get to explore, is there anything that this part of the planet is worried about? And then we come back in, we find our bodies again in the circle, and then we can share. So, and this is very flexible depending on age. So with the very youngest kids, we might just draw pictures of who we were and what we liked about it. And then as we get older, we can become more ambassadors for where we've been. And the older children, again, can really form an earth council, so that you can speak for the mosses, or you can speak for a glacier. Or we did this a few weeks ago, and 2 of the children had been lions, and they were really different lions. One had a great experience of being a lion, really happy. And the other child had a really tough experience being a lion. And she said, maybe I shouldn't share it because it's really sad. I was like, everything belongs, so it's fine to share. And she said, there was a hunter, and my lion cub was killed, my cub. And I'm so sad about that. And like the whole circle was like, because it really was like, someone killed my child. It was like shocking. And it led, we did a practice of caring, sending our caring energy for the lion. And then we talked about, so what can we do to help that? Like, so what can we do in Ireland where we don't hunt lions?
Yeah.
What can we do to help all of the lion parents out there who are worried for their cubs? And then you get to hear the wisdom of the group. And it's fascinating what people go and be part of, and then how they represent them. I was with one group once, and someone came back and went, I was a pigeon. They were like, I don't like pigeons, but I was a pigeon. And they said, actually, what I was worried about was people like me, because I that they put small bird seed out for small birds because they really enjoyed robins and blue tits and sparrows and all the rest. And they didn't put out big birds. And they were like, I don't feed the pigeons. I'm worried about them like me. But they had this love of pigeons after having been a pigeon for a few years.
Right. Yeah.
So then it can be as flexible as you want. So you can use that in any way. So I've done it where people write poetry, where we use it where they write a poem about their experience or something inspired by the love of the earth. We've done collages, individual artwork, like make up a song. So you can really use it in any class to kind of build on the experiences of the children and then get them at a point where they feel passionate and they have something to say and guide that into a different form.
I love that. So creative and sounds so rewarding from all perspectives. So just before we finish today, with your work, with hearing from schools in all these different countries that are trying to bring mindfulness practices in for teachers themselves or for children, what are kind of the challenges that you see and the opportunities going into the future in this area?
So I feel the challenges are kind of like our fingerprints. They're so distinctive from place to place.
Right.
So so often if a teacher or a school administrator or the parents group thinks this might be a good idea, like there might be blocks within the school who go, and they just think there's no more time in the day, there's no more space, I can't, buy 30 cushions and we don't have a separate room. So sometimes it's about finding very flexible, creative ways. So I like almost invisible practice, stuff that's just part of our geography lesson or sports or going out in nature or learning, or learning how emotionally we can take care of ourselves and manage ourselves. So there's so many different ways in, but it really varies wildly. So we work quite a lot with wonderful teachers in Uganda, and they are doing such amazing work, and it is about societal change. I think historically the understanding is that in order to raise a child well, you need to beat the child. So being beaten is like very common and normal, and in Uganda, like everyone has been beaten. The grown-ups, but within marriages, people are beaten, then the children are beaten, and they are practicing to reduce violence towards children. So they're really helping people to learn how to take care of themselves and their anger or their desire to make a child listen, and then create these circles of deep listening and loving speech. And it really is changing society. For example, I've friends who work in Singapore and Hong Kong, and they are working a lot on self-compassion. There are times where we, as humans, we get stuck in rigidity or perfectionism, and anything that isn't absolutely perfect is so devalued. So they are learning to really allow stuff to be perfectly imperfect and to be an ally for our well-being, whether we're doing something very well or very poorly. So I think it varies. It varies a lot, and the opportunities are endless, because for me, this practice of learning how to take care of our suffering and to deliberately nourish our happiness is something that there is no environment that it's not appropriate or suitable for. There's no age that it's not suitable for. Everyone gets it at their own level. And that we also become artists of the practice, so that if I'm a maths teacher, I'll practice differently to if I'm an astronaut or a chef. And then no matter what the group setting is, there are ways that we can find to practice, because mindfulness isn't its own distinct thing. It's always mindfulness of something. So it's an attitude that we bring to this moment of our life. And the joys within Wake Up Schools of seeing, you know, environments that started with 4 people meeting once a week, and then after 13 years, like 850 people, like
Wow.
have this as built-in part of their educational ecosystem. So it's extraordinary.
Yeah. Yeah, wow, wonderful. And yeah, it's so exciting that there are so many opportunities to bring this practice that's so helpful for so many of us. So thank you again, Orlaith, for sharing all those great practices and what's happening in all these different places that you're working at. I just wanted to remind everyone we have her speaker bio below, and Orlaith has very kindly given us a wonderful free resource called Happy Minds, Loving Hearts, which has lots of simple ways to practice mindfulness with children if you click on the link. And we will also share when the Happiness Festival is coming about, because I'm sure our viewers would be interested in watching that as well. But thank you again for sharing with us and for taking the time to come on the summit today.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks so much, Helen.
Thanks.